Editing and refining your listing on Airbnb. Now that you've gone through the basic steps, let's refine and add details to the listing so that everything is as complete as possible. Airbnb makes it easy to get started, but they also don't want to get into the nitty-gritty details, especially those pesky little details like cleaning fees, cancellation policies, and instant book settings. But those areas are important to hosts. Very important. If you want to control who is booking your property, when they can cancel, hopefully not at the last minute for a full refund, and whether you get paid cleaning fees, then you will want to go into your hosting account on Airbnb, click on Menu, and then Listings, and go through each of the areas step by step. You should see your listing organized as follows: listing details, pricing and availability, policies and rules, info for guests, co-hosts. Under these main headings, there are more submenus, and we are going to take them in turn. Let's start with photos. Photos. Your best foot in the metaphorical door will be your photos, so let's make sure they are good ones. Keep the following in mind as you accumulate them. Look at other comparable listings photos and compare. Use as high quality of a camera as possible. Consider hiring a professional photographer. Use landscape, not portrait settings, for your photos whenever possible. Use the biggest draw to your property as a first photo. With Cottage West, I used the vintage claw bathtub filled with bubbles. Your first 5 photos are the most important. Choose them wisely. Keep your target market in mind. Don't include images of items not in your listing. For instance, a host who showed a video arcade game that wasn't actually in the property, or if you do, label the photo clearly, i.e., arcade games available in nearby clubhouse of complex. Take photos where everything is staged, clean, and ready. No mess. Try taking photos with curtains open and closed to see which looks better. Showcase your property's unique attributes. Include interior and exterior photos, and even close-ups of attractive decor details. See my Tree of Life table on my website. Caption the photos, bedroom 1, bedroom 2, etc. I show in the book an example of my Cottage West listing, and you are more than welcome to look it up. Just type in Cottage West, Kansas City, Missouri, and you'll probably find it. After that, in later photos, I do a full walkthrough in photos of the house, starting with the front porch, moving into the front entry living room, adding in clips of handwritten as well as official reviews from happy guests as I go, showing off the artistic touches, amenities, a desk, washer and dryer, charging station, and more, and the small and big details as a guest would see them as they move through the house. A final note on photos: update, update, update. Whenever you make changes, update the photos on the listing. If a chair gets swapped out or a slipcover added, take new photos and update them on the site. Even if they are improvements, guests hate surprises. They want what they saw in the photos, no more and certainly no less. I received a couple of less than stellar reviews complaining that I had changed the furniture after I swapped out a chair and added a slipcover to a couch damaged by a guest's dog. The couch was a marked change in appearance, brown chenille to red and cream floral, that, despite it being only the slipcover that changed, the guest thought it was different furniture entirely. Differences from the photos and reviews noting such things lead future guests to be suspicious and move on, fearing they are being misled. In a world where photos are airbrushed, cropped, and altered, it is easy to give the appearance of something being better than it is not. And I get that. I really do. In March 2020, I booked an Airbnb in Bath, England. The photo of the front of the property was of a completely different building, and that wasn't the only misleading part of the listing. People want what they have seen in the photos, and nothing else will do. Save yourself a poor review and make sure the photos are up to date at all times. Listing basics. Listing title. Your listing title, along with that ever-important primary picture, is the first glance potential guests will have at your property, so it had better be good. Consider audience appeal. Why does a guest want to book your STR? Who is your target audience? Consider a title that will appeal to the needs and expectations of your typical guests. Use words that appeal to your ideal guest: secluded or romantic if you're hoping for honeymooners, convenient or modern or bright if targeting business travelers. Make the most of the character limit. Most platforms allow up to 50 characters for a title, so use all 50. Use abbreviations and symbols to save characters. With becomes W/. Bedroom becomes B, R. Air conditioning becomes A/C, and so on. There are many who are using emojis as well. I think this works especially well with the under 40 age brackets. I, old fuddy-duddy that I am, cannot stand the things, but I recognize that there is an enormous set of potential clients I may miss out on by not using them in my listing title. Avoid using generic words in your title. Toss out great, nice, and good, and embrace eclectic, insta-worthy, renovated, green, enviro-friendly, and more. Don't use all caps. Using all capital letters is the same as shouting. No one wants to hear about your super schmancy 5-bedroom villa. They just don't. No screaming. You aren't a barker. Highlight the best features. If you aren't sure, take your friends or neighbors through the property and ask them for a list of words. If you have been in business for a while, look at the reviews folks have left. What do they say? Thinking about this made me edit my title to read Cottage West, close to everything, cozy and clean. Later on, I briefly tried out 2BR, Sleep 6, easy access to highways, cozy, comfortable, but it didn't strike the right chord. Mention nearby landmarks or appealing destinations. We are just a 15-minute drive from the stadiums, football and baseball, as well as less than a 5-minute drive from the Jazz District and Kansas City's Power and Light District. Listing description. You have already done this. Click Edit anyway, as there is a sub-menu of choices. You can leave this as is or tweak your wording while you are here. Here is an example of what I have written for Cottage West. We have thought of every detail. You are home. Cottage West has lounge in a gorgeous clawfoot bathtub. Bedroom 1, queen bed. Bedroom 2, full bed. The guests have described as the best night's sleep they have ever had. 2 couches in living room. Kid-friendly, pet-friendly. 54-inch Roku TV with Netflix, Hulu, and more. A back porch for sipping coffee or practicing yoga, and front porch for smokers. Fully stocked, from kitchen spices, essentials, a coffee tea station, even a washer and dryer. I had listed in the listing title that we could sleep 6, but I really wanted to make sure I clarified that. There are 2 beds, a full and a queen, and in a pinch, the couches can serve as beds as well, allowing for up to 6 guests. I also wanted to clarify, since searches on Airbnb are limited and don't seem to include finding a pet-friendly house, that we are indeed pet-friendly. Speaking of pets, we are also kid-friendly. That's a joke, folks. I have kids of my own. I'm trying to pack in the amenities as much as possible, since I'm limited to the 500 characters. The space. Finally, over 500 characters are allowed. Time to roll out the charm, folks. You didn't have this option in the setup, so now you can add it. Here is what I have written for Cottage West. This fully renovated 1910 bungalow with warm, inviting colors throughout comes fully stocked with everything you need during your stay. The 2 bedrooms are cozy and comfortable. All linens are included. Cool microfiber sheets in the summer, scrumptious flannel in the winter. Digital clocks with USB ports, ample storage space, and luggage racks. The 2 couches, 1 squishy, 1 firm, in the living room provide additional sleep possibilities beyond the 2 bedrooms for a total of 6 guests. The bathroom includes an antique clawfoot bathtub with a classy shower conversion. Seriously though, take a soak. You'll love it. There is a utility room with a washer and dryer and laundry soap, as well as an ironing board, a portable fan, a pack and play, and a high chair that attaches to the table for folks with little ones. Kids' dish sets are also available. The kitchen is complete with a 1930s era Roper gas stove. Stovetop only, the oven is not functional. Toaster oven, microwave, spices, cookware, and all kinds of fun freebies in the pantry. Eat at the blackboard finished table, which has room for 4 chairs, and draw a picture. In the living room, you will find ample desk space at the large Tree of Life table, hand-drawn and stained by the owner, as well as a charger, couch, and chairs, where you can watch TV, Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, and Curiosity Stream included. In nicer weather, you may wish to sit on the front porch in the vintage glider or enjoy the enclosed back porch and sip coffee or practice yoga or meditation. Guests are free to enjoy the very large shared fenced yard. Yes, you are welcome to jump on the trampoline, and we are pet friendly. No additional fees for pets. We ask that you keep your pets leashed, as this is a shared yard. Want to know more? Ask away. Guest access. Here, you can let the guests know which parts of the space they can access. Here is what I've written for Cottage West. All of the main floor of the house is available. The attic and basement are off limits. In addition, feel free to roam through the yard to the east of Cottage West. We have fruit trees, a fire pit, a large pond, a trampoline, and plenty of flowers to enjoy. Other details to note. Any special info you want your guests to know? Write it here. Again, I've provided an example from Cottage West. Number 1. Pets. Pets are welcome. No extra fees for their stay. We expect they be crated in a kennel when left alone or if they are not house-trained. Please be a responsible pet owner. All pets must be leashed when outside. Number 2. Smoking. Cottage West is a smoke-free home. Take it outside to the front porch or out in the yard. Violators will receive a 1-star review and a $100 fine. Number 3. Parties. Absolutely no parties at Cottage West. We have young children, and there are hard-working families who live in this neighborhood. We will remove violators from the premises, and they will not receive a fund for their stay. Number of guests. Here's your chance to change the total number of guests allowed. Custom link. This is a super cool option that Airbnb rolled out. Would you like to give folks an easy link to your STR? You can create it here. For Cottage West, the link is airbnb.com/h/Cottage West. It's a little more personal than your space URL. Languages. You can list what languages you speak here, or it will default to the standard for the country you are located, in my case, English. Listing status. If you ever want to suspend or snooze your listing, here is where you will do it. Airbnb also offers simple explanations of your different options. Listed. Guests can find your listing in search results and request or book available dates. Snoozed. Remove your listing from search results for a set period of time. Unlisted. Guests can't book your listing or find it in search results. Deactivate. Permanently remove your listing from Airbnb. Amenities. What amenities do you offer? Here you can really dig down into the weeds and go beyond the few listed in the original 10 steps. Make sure this section is filled out completely and accurately. Be very specific. Do you have window units for your air conditioning? Guaranteed, you will get a complaint if you don't mention that loud window unit. The same goes for the heating. Don't hide the fact that you have a portable space heater. Say it in the description. Otherwise, you risk a horrible review from someone who didn't want to wait an hour or more for the space to heat. In the same vein, a hot plate and mini fridge is not a kitchen. Just as a dedicated workspace must have an available electrical outlet and not be on an already overloaded circuit. I live in an old house, so I know how these things can go. For home safety, do not forget to add a first aid kit, fire extinguisher, carbon monoxide alarm, and smoke alarm to your property. These are musts, unless you want something awful to happen and to be sued for every penny you are worth. When lives are at stake, do the right thing. As you move into the different areas, consider putting a reminder in your calendar to go through your listing every couple of months. Things change and you want to stay current. As I went through the amenities section, I found plenty of amenities that I offer that weren't listed as options before. I checked quite a few. Under parking and transportation, please note that free parking on premises is not the same as free street parking. Early on, I made the mistake of checking both of them, yes, when actually to park off of the street, i.e. behind our locked gate, was technically possible. At the time, we had not put in the gravel driveway or installed the curb cut. It meant parking on grass after having to drive over a curb. A guest read free parking on premises and then was unhappy with the street parking option. He said nothing until after, so his review was slightly less than all 5 stars. We have fixed this, and guests love having the driveway and double gates that close. It gives them a feeling of security that street parking does not. Location. Address. This should already show the correct address. Neighborhood description. This is a great opportunity to tell guests about your neighborhood and its benefits. Getting around. Since we are in a city, I give potential guests options such as Uber, Lyft, and that they know about our free light rail service in the downtown area. Location sharing. Here you can opt in or out of sharing your exact address. I recommend using the general location option for security. You don't need a guest showing up before a scheduled reservation or releasing your specific address to people who have no intention of renting from you and instead want to burglarize or even squat in your home. You can send your specific address to your guests on the day of reservation instead. Scenic views. Click Edit and you will see an extensive list. You can mark multiple choices here. Property and rooms. Property type. You have already filled this one out. Rooms and spaces. Here you can identify the different rooms and include pictures so that a potential guest has a better idea of which rooms are which. Accessibility. If your space is accessible for those with mobility issues, here is the perfect place to let people know. Our properties are older and therefore inaccessible for those with significant mobility issues. However, if you own a more modern property, this is your chance to stand out from the crowd. There is a market, to be sure, so go for it and drop me an email and let me know how your business grows as a result. Guest safety. Click Edit and look at this section. You have already filled some of it out in the Quick Start, but now you can fill in some details. For example, as I was running through it and writing this section, I realized I didn't have the trampoline listed under climbing or play structure, so I added, there is a trampoline with safety netting in the shared yard that guests are welcome to use at their own risk. I also noticed that the pond we installed last year was also not listed, so I added, there is a pond on the property that is approximately 3 to 5 feet in depth. Under Safety Devices, I added the following explanation to the Security Cameras section. Ring doorbell camera and 2 Ring motion sensor with floodlight cameras, one that monitors the front porch and the other that monitors the back of Cottage West. These devices are motion activated and record any movement outside for crime and safety purposes only. The clarification under the Ring devices is very important. If you are going to have any kind of security devices, and honestly I think you should, then I recommend 1. You only have them outside of your property, never inside. 2. That you disclose where they are. And 3. Why you have them there. Not disclosing the cameras can get your account suspended, and not explaining the reason for their existence can cause guests to be wary and even paranoid about your motivations. Pricing. Nightly price. Here you can set a base price. You likely already did it in the initial setup, but you could change it here if you wish to. You can also turn on smart pricing and have Airbnb determine the best nightly price possible for your region. I will warn you, however, that their prices are rather low. I suggest you set your own price once you have completed your research on the surrounding area, your competition, etc. Listing currency. No need to change this. Guests will see prices in their own currency. Discounts. I've mentioned it before, but I actually prefer shorter stays. I make more money on it since I'm the one doing the cleanings. That said, I have a 5% weekly discount and a 15% monthly discount set in place. You can also set custom length of stay discounts, early bird discounts, and last-minute discounts. Cleaning fee. Here you can delineate between a regular cleaning fee and a short stay cleaning fee. My cleaning fees are pretty low right now. After all, I can clean my little 2-bedroom, 1-bath in approximately 45 minutes. This includes washing the linens and putting them in the dryer. So a $50 short-stay cleaning fee more than adequately pays for my time, and the $65 regular cleaning fee for anything longer than 2 nights is usually enough to cover any extra time I take to get the STR up to snuff. Before you fill the section out, and if you are hiring cleaning staff, get a quote first, so you aren't hit with sticker shock. A cleaning crew can be pricey, and you want excellent service out of them every single time they clean. Do not assume that just because someone cleans houses, they will work for a measly $10 to $15 an hour, because you definitely will get what you pay for, and your guests will be merciless in their reviews. Pet fee. You can list a pet fee here. This is not a per pet fee, simply an inclusive pet fee. If you charge $20 for a pet fee, the guest will pay $20, whether they have 1 dog or 5. And as noted by Airbnb and as legislated by Americans with Disabilities Act, a guest does not have to pay a pet fee for a service animal. Note, I didn't say emotional support animal. I charge a token amount of $10. It isn't a large amount, but most pet owners expect some kind of fee. For those who don't tell me they are bringing a pet, I don't pursue it. It isn't worth it, honestly. Linens fee. Perhaps your area differs from mine, but in my case, I do not make use of this fee. Linens are usually considered part of the rental. However, in other countries or in some isolated regions, this might not be the case. Unless you have heard specifically about other local hosts charging a linens fee, I would not recommend placing any fee here. Yes, linens require washing, and that costs money in water and detergent. And yes, you might have a service do them for you if you have a larger place. This is a personal decision you need to make. It is also a line item that would be listed out in the charges detail and that a potential guest would see and possibly question. Resort fee. Only charge a resort fee if your property is in a resort and they charge a per reservation fee. Management fee. This is not a fee I would charge to a guest. You must make your own judgment on it. Compare the charges of those around you for a better understanding of what is expected and what is not. Community fee. This is also not a fee I would charge to a guest. However, you must make your own judgment on it. Compare the charges of those around you for a better understanding of what is expected and what is not. Extra guest fee. I don't charge an extra guest fee, and I will explain why. My time spent cleaning is essentially the same, whether one person uses the property or 5. It might vary by as much as 15 to 20 minutes extra for extra guests, but often it doesn't. So why charge money for more guests? This might be very different for you, however. 2. An additional per guest fee encourages guests to lie about how many are in their party. It is a human condition to get away with less, if possible. And do you really want to argue with a guest or watch their comings and goings on a camera and try to count heads? It's a disaster in the making. 3. Potential fewer bookings if you have a pricey additional guest fee in place. 4. A guest is pissed they got caught and angry you would ask them to pay more. They are also embarrassed at being caught. Imagine how teenagers act when they are caught doing something they shouldn't. Adults aren't much different, just more hostile and capable of leaving nitpicky negative reviews. It's up to you. If you really want to deal with policing your guests, following up and arguing, cajoling, or guilting them into being honest, then by all means, go ahead and charge a per guest fee. Yes, you might make a decent sum, but at what cost? Weekend nightly price. If you prefer to fix it and forget it, you may wish to have a standard weekend nightly price which will override your weeknight pricing set up when you first posted your listing. Weekend rates are typically higher and better earners for most STR hosts, myself included. Again, my rates are on the low end of things, so I keep my rates at $99 per night base rate across the board, and then adjust them down the week of, or sometimes 1 to 2 weeks ahead of time to ensure I'm getting maximum capacity in my properties. Taxes. Airbnb collects and remits any applicable occupancy taxes on your behalf. This is worth double checking on the other platforms as well to make sure they are doing the same thing. However, Any state or federal personal income taxes you may incur are your responsibility to report and pay on your own. I recommend setting aside a minimum of 15% of your gross income towards this eventuality. More on this in Money Matters. Trip length. Minimum stay. I have a one-night stay minimum, but I recommend you click on Edit and then on Customize Minimum Stay Requirements for additional options. For instance, you may wish to not have to pay cleaners extra or clean on most weekends, so you ask for a 2-night minimum on Fridays, for example. Or perhaps you are busy on Tuesdays and cannot handle cleaning the STR that day, so you would instead mark a 2-night minimum for anyone staying on Monday nights. It's a handy feature. Maximum stay. If, for example, your city or state confers renters' rights upon any guest who stays longer than 30 days, and you don't want to have to deal with trying to evict someone, you may wish to set a maximum stay to 28 or 29 days. I have mine set at 28 nights, just in case. Custom trip lengths. Here you can set trip length and check-in day requirements for specific dates. Calendar availability. Advance notice. Do you need advance notice of a guest's arrival? Here is a place to request it. I have it set for same day, and I allow guests to book until 8 p.m. I always have the properties ready, and I am often asleep by 9 p.m., sometimes earlier, so I don't miss a reservation request. You can change this, however, to give you 1, 2, 3, or even 7 days notice. Preparation time. How much preparation time will you need to get the STR ready for more guests? Your choices are none, block 1 night before and after each reservation, or block 2 nights before and after each reservation. I chose none because my proximity to our STRs and my ability to clean the properties in the 3-hour window between when a guest leaves and when the next one arrives. Availability window. How many months in advance are you willing to book guests? I have all future dates selected, but I also have a team in place for when I go on vacation that handles my cleanings, while I handle the customer service side of things. If you aren't sure that will work for you, choose something that will. You can choose all future dates, 12 months in advance, 9 months in advance, 6 months, 3 months, or dates unavailable by default. Restricted check-in days. Here is another way to restrict guests from staying on certain days of the week. You can restrict a guest from checking in on a Wednesday if, for example, you prefer one-on-one check-in and are gone out of town every Wednesday. There is one other thing to keep in mind regarding availability, and that is what I can only describe as party days. Here in our area, those would be 4th of July, Halloween, New Year's Eve. Yes, there are plenty of other holidays, but those 3 are bad news. We block them off on our calendars. It simply isn't worth hosting on those days. I'll talk later about screening guests. But let's just say that despite our best efforts, locals have booked our properties in the past and created problems. It was enough of a lesson for me that I now block off the days far in advance. If you live in a tourist hub, this might not work for you. You might think, those could be my busiest days. So take my advice with a grain of salt. For us in a city, those 3 days of the year are nothing but problems, and I'm unwilling to put myself through a sleepless night. 2020's New Year's Eve included some fool emptying a clip into the air right next to our daughter's room just for 1 night's income. What are you comfortable with in terms of availability? This goes hand in hand with your own availability to oversee your STR or have another person or service handling it. If you are outsourcing it, are they available 7 days a week, 365 days a year? Are there any limitations a property manager or co-host will have when making sure your STR is cared for properly? Calendar sync. Here is where you can link the calendars from Airbnb, VRBO, TripAdvisor, and Booking.com. To do so, you will need to first create your accounts on these sites, one at a time. Import and export the .ical calendars for each booking site you are now listed on, and this will prevent guests on one platform from booking when the property is already occupied through another booking platform. Very handy. I tend to just use my Airbnb calendar since that will show me the other platform bookings. If I have a direct booking, I block the day on my Airbnb calendar and add a note of the guest's name for my reference. It automatically blocks that day on all the other calendars. Sharing settings. Find out more about the listings your potential guests are checking out. If you share some details about your listing and bookings with other hosts, you can see the listings that guests end up booking after checking out your place. Policies and rules. We are done with pricing and availability, and now we finally get to move on to policies and rules. This is an especially important section regarding your cancellation policies and the Instant Book feature. Policies. Standard cancellation policy. What kind of cancellation policy you choose is a very important one. Let's look at your choices. Flexible. Full refund 1 day prior to arrival. Flexible or non-refundable. In addition to flexible, offer a non-refundable option. Guests pay 10% less, but you keep your payout no matter when they cancel. Moderate, full refund 5 days prior to arrival. Moderate or non-refundable. In addition to moderate, offer a non-refundable option. Guests pay 10% less, but you keep your payout no matter when they cancel. Firm, full refund for cancellations up to 30 days before check-in. If booked fewer than 30 days before check-in, full refund for cancellations made within 48 hours of booking and at least 14 days before check-in. After that, 50% refund up to 7 days before check-in. No refund after that. Firm or non-refundable. In addition to firm, offer a non-refundable option. Guests pay 10% less, but you keep your payout no matter when they cancel. Strict. Full refund for cancellations made within 48 hours of booking if the check-in date is at least 14 days away. 50% refund for cancellations made at least 7 days before check-in. No refunds for cancellations made within 7 days of check-in. Strict or non-refundable. In addition to strict, offer a non-refundable option. Guests pay 10% less, but you keep your payout no matter when they cancel. I prefer the moderate cancellation policy. I dislike any choices that include non-refundable. Guests abuse this. They go for the cheaper price and then try to squirm out of the non-refundable side of things. I found it far easier to give them no 10% discount and allow cancellations up to 7 days prior to the start of the reservation. Having the non-refundable discount was more interaction intensive and more work with less income. Know that you can change this should it become necessary. When you do, however, it affects only new reservations, not reservations the guests have already made. Long-term cancellation policy. This is a newer feature for Airbnb and a good one. You might be more flexible on the cancellation of a stay that is a few days or a week, but when a guest schedules your property for 28 nights or longer and then wants to cancel, that can have long-lasting effects, especially if your calendar has been showing as booked and unavailable for any length of time. Instant Book. One choice Airbnb would prefer you choose is Instant Book. I recommend using Instant Book. It pushes your property higher in the Airbnb algorithm. Definitely double check one thing though. Click Edit and check Yes for good track record. If other hosts have had difficulties with the guest, they won't be able to Instant Book with you. Check-in window. What time do you want to allow your guests to arrive? I actually try to match what most hotels offer, which is a 2 p.m. or later arrival time. I leave my guests' end time for check-in as flexible. Most of my guests are driving through, and their arrival time can vary tremendously based on weather and traffic conditions. Checkout time. What time do you need your guests to leave by? I set an 11 a.m. checkout time. Again, I'm attempting to mimic hotel rules here. Eventually, when I have all 4 properties up and running, I may need to alter both the checkout and check-in times to provide a larger window for all the cleanings to be done. For now, having a window of 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. for cleaning allows me to get it done easily and not feel under the gun. House rules. Suitable for children 2 to 12 years? Is your house suitable for children? Suitable for infants under 2 years? Is your house suitable for infants? This would include outlet covers. Pets allowed. Will you be allowing pets? Note, you cannot disallow service animals. More on this in Pets, Yes or No. Smoking allowed? Most STR hosts do not allow smoking inside of the units. However, you have the option of allowing it, and that is totally up to you. I imagine that could be quite the bonus for smokers to be allowed to smoke inside of a property. Events allowed. Unless you have a home that is remote and capable of hosting family gatherings or weddings, I would advise that you not allow events. Airbnb, as well as other platforms, strictly prohibit parties. Not that they prevent all event gatherings, just those deemed as parties. Additional rules. Here is a space for you to list any rules you might have that have not been covered in other areas. I chose to restate several rules, and here is an example from my Cottage West listing. Pets must be crated if left alone on the property. Guests will be held financially responsible for any damage by their pets. Pets must stay leashed in the yard as it is a shared space. Absolutely no smoking inside of the home. A $100 extra cleaning fee will apply to any violators of this rule. Guest requirements. Profile photo required. You can request that the guest have a profile photo already on file. You cannot see it until after the booking is confirmed, however. Laws and regulations. Local laws. This serves as a reminder to hosts that different municipalities have different laws regarding short-term rentals, and you should know what your particular local laws are. Primary use of listing. Choose between the space is primarily set up for guests and I keep my personal belongings in the space. Info for guests. This section mostly reiterates information already filled out. It is information the guest sees on their end. Pre-booking details. The check-in window you already filled out above and the checkout time should be the same. Here you can add your guidebook if you wish. You can include places, restaurants, points of interest, describe the neighborhood, add fun information about your city or town, or traveler advice inside of it. Last, interaction with guests gives you a couple of options to choose from. Here is what I chose and what I wrote for guests to read. Choice number 1. I plan to socialize with my guests. Choice number 2. I give my guests space but am available when needed. Choice number 3. I won't be available in person. I choose I give my guests space but am available when needed. Then I added this note. I live next door in the brick house. You can reach me by calling, texting, email, or by knocking on our door if you need anything. If it is after 9 p.m. and you have any difficulty accessing the space, please ring the Ring doorbell and it will sound inside of our house and we will wake up and help. We would love to meet you, but we also respect your privacy. Post-booking details. Once booked, a guest will receive your address, directions, and house manual on the day of or the day before a reservation. Just double-check the address listed to make sure it matches correctly. Under directions, I suggest choosing the nearest highway or major intersection and giving basic directions from there. These days, with GPS, it is rarely needed, but it is also important to have all the information you can make available to your guests. For the house manual, I once again reiterate a few points, just to make sure guests have seen them. Here is an example from Cottage West. House manual. We want your stay to be comfortable and refreshing. Cottage West was designed with the traveler and your every possible need in mind. You will find analgesics and over-the-counter remedies in the medicine cabinet in the bathroom, cookware and utensils in the kitchen, and extra linens in the bedrooms should you need them. We want you to enjoy your stay. We do have a few rules, however. No smoking. We utilize fresh air sensor technology or vaping inside of the house. You are welcome to smoke outside on the front porch or in the yard. Please dispose of all cigarettes in a responsible manner. No parties. We utilize minute sensors that alert us when the decibel levels rise above acceptable levels for neighbors. We will evict guests who violate this rule. If bringing pets, please ensure that they do not eliminate inside of the house or destroy any of the contents in the house. We understand that in some cases, accidents do happen. Please notify us if there are any areas of the house that an accident has occurred in. You will find a doggy care basket in the kitchen. Pets must be crated if left alone by the owner. You are more than welcome to take your pets out on a leash into the large yard. This is a shared space, so please treat it as such. You will find the house manual on the table by the front door. It has additional info on the area, including recommendations for dining and activities to consider. If you have any questions or concerns, please do not hesitate to contact us. Arrival details. Because the code to the keyless entry door lock changes with each guest, I add the following to the check-in instructions. Guests are emailed the day of their arrival with check-in instructions and their own personal access code. Wi-Fi details are updated here as well. As you may have noticed, certain key pieces of information can be found in multiple places. The more places you have the information, rules, etc., the better. It is better to repeat yourself than not to be heard the first time. Co-hosts. If you decide you want someone to co-host with you, here's the place to make that happen. I have my husband listed, and he can respond to guests the same as me. Wow. Well, that was a heck of a chapter, but we are finally done with it, and your listing with Airbnb should now be live and ready to go. Now you can post your property on VRBO, Booking.com, TripAdvisor, and more. Take your time, dig into the nitty-gritty details, and don't forget to sync your calendars. In the next chapter, we will talk about accepting and welcoming your first guests.